Hi, my name is Diana Al-Balawi. I'm a professional makeup artist and hairstylist from Russia and also do a little bit of photography. In today's video I want to show you my highlighter collection. But before we start, I really would appreciate if you give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, maybe leave a comment. This will really help me to develop my channel and I will be extremely happy if this happens. Thank you very much. I don't know how this happened, but I don't have any liquid highlighters or cream highlighters. I only own powder stuff, and I'm going to speak in detail about every single product. And I will start with the most delicate ones I have. These are technically powders, but for me they can be used as very delicate highlighters, and these are the powders by MAQ Pro. This one is Powder Compact HD in the shade 8018, and this one is Powder Compact HD in the shade 8112. 8018 is very light and 8112 is a little bit more tanny, I would say. These two powders have extremely delicate shine and they have a little bit of a blurring effect, and these are actually the powders I always use for blending my eyeshadows, and I even have a video about how I created smaller pans out of these powders and mixed them together to have a medium shade. And if you are curious, you can watch the video here, and I will also leave the link in the description. The texture of these powders is extremely delicate and the finish is quite polishing. The only drawback that I would speak about is that they contain talc, and if you are sensitive to talc, maybe you need to look for another product. Speaking about powders with some sort of sheen, I have this limited edition palette by Hourglass. This is Ambient Volume 4, and these are the powders here, like the classic Hourglass powders, and I feel that they have a little bit less shine than the MAQ Pro powders, so I will show you this one shade for comparison if you are curious. So this is the shade Dim Light, and as you can see, it reflects less light than these two shades. And as I'm already holding this palette, I would like to show you the actual highlighting shade in the palette. The shade is called Strobe Light. This highlighter gives a very beautiful sheen, and looking at it, it looks like it has, I don't know, crushed diamonds there or something. Everybody knows how good the highlighters by Hourglass are, so I'm not going to speak about that in detail. I quite enjoy this shade. Speaking about delicate highlighters, I have this palette by Tilbury. This is Film Star Bronze and Glow in the shade Light Medium, and I have it in a limited edition packaging, but the product there is from their regular collection. So this is their classic moderately delicate champagne-y highlighter. This highlighter is stronger than the MAQ Pro powders, but not so shiny as the Hourglass highlighter. I think this is the highlighter that maybe your mom would like to use because it's not too much and it's very delicate and absolutely beautiful. I actually have the very same highlighter in my Instant Look in a Palette Gorgeous Glowing Beauty 5-minute face, or whatever it is called, so it's a limited edition, and this highlighter is absolutely the same highlighter as in her Film Star Bronze and Glow. Speaking about Charlotte Tilbury palettes, I also have this one, which is Instant Look of Love in a Palette Glowing Beauty, so this is the darker palette. And there is a face highlighter here, which she calls Face Highlight Illuminer. I don't know the shade, but this is like a deeper shade. And let's swatch it. So the texture is the same as in her classic highlighter, of course. The formula is the same, but the shade is much deeper and will suit deeper skin tone, so medium to deep, I think. Maybe not very deep though. And as you can see, the shade has also quite a lot of this champagne quality, but much deepened, so it's like an olivey maybe, or like tan shade or something. Then I have also these two guys, so these are the Dior Backstage highlighting palettes. They call them Glow Face palettes. This one is the first one, this is the second one, and I have full reviews on them in the videos that I will leave here, and also The links will be in the description as usual. So I won't be speaking about the quality, what I think about these palettes, because I've already spoken about that, but I will just show you the swatches of them. So this is the first palette. So this is the second palette. The only thing I will say is that I don't consider Dior Backstage palettes to be my absolutely like favorite highlighters, because they are quite metallic and it is visible on the skin, and I enjoy when the highlight is a little bit translucent and almost invisible when you turn your head. I have another Dior highlighter, by the way. I'm not sure if they still have it in their line, maybe they stopped producing it, I don't know. This is the Dior Skin Nude Luminizer, and mine is in the shade 02. So it's a very beautiful packaging, I absolutely love it. And this shade, oh my gosh. So this is an extremely subtle pink highlighter for more like fair skin, and I don't know, it's so gorgeous and it has such a beautiful sheen. I think I need to apply this highlighter on my lids to show you how beautiful it is, because the camera just doesn't do this highlighter justice. I hope you can see it on my lid. It's so beautiful. I have two palettes by Natasha Denona which have highlighters in them. Let's swatch them. So this is the Bloom palette, and I have a full review on this palette as well. So the link will be here and in the description as usual. And we have the only creamy highlighter I have, but for me this is more like a blush, so I'm not going to swatch it because I do not really consider it to be a true highlighter. So we have this Glow Extreme highlighter here, and let's swatch it. This highlighter has a very distinct peach undertone, and as you can see, it is not really light, so it is not suitable for people with very light skin tone, and it is more like for light medium to medium deep, maybe just deep, or it should be applied on top of blush or bronzer to be not very visible, because it is not translucent. As you can see, it has quite a lot of shadow when I turn my arm like this. It is also really extremely shiny, and this shade is extremely beautiful as eyeshadow, of course. This palette is called Love Glow Cheek Palette. Do you need a review on it? If you do, please write me down in the comments. So we have two highlighters here. This one is Glow Impact Powder, and this one is Diamond Powder. Both these shades are again not translucent, as you can see, and this highlighting shade is even deeper than the one from the Bloom palette, and it is a little bit more like apricot-y rather than peachy. The shine is a little bit more subtle if we compare it to the highlighter in the Bloom palette, but again it's not really very suitable for lighter skin tones. This Diamond Powder is very glittery, and I consider it more to be an eyeshadow rather than a highlighter, although of course you can use it as a highlighter. And it has a very distinct pink hue to it in the base, so if you want it to look natural you have to apply it on top of quite vibrant blush. The sheen of this highlighter is champagne, like a little bit goldy, but not very like pigmented gold, so it's quite subtle in the shade but not in the shine. It's extremely shiny because it looks like glitters. Now I want to speak about my most favorite highlighters. I have top two and I still have not chosen which highlighter I love more, because I love them for a little bit different reasons. So in my top two, one of the highlighters is the Chanel highlighter Poudre Lumière in the shade 10 Ivory Gold. I have a video where I speak in detail about this highlighter and how I was craving for it and waiting, I don't know, about 10 months to buy it. Today I want to swatch it and tell you why it is one of my top favorite highlighters. So this highlighter again does not have a clear base as you can see, and this is the reason why this highlighter is not my #1 highlighter of all time, because you need to apply it on top of a bronzer. But what I absolutely love about it is the shade of it. It is so complex, if I can say so. So it's not this very straightforward shade. It has so much like grayness, mutiness. When you look very closely to the shade, it has some green particles there, and I've shown it in the video about this highlighter. Again, the links will be there. You will find them if you want to. And I love the sheen of it. It is so beautiful. One more thing that maybe does not make this my most favorite highlighter of all time is that it has several particles of glitters a little bit, which quite surprised me, by the way. I was not expecting that from this highlighter. Although they're visible, they're not vulgarly visible. But the shade of this highlighter is so beautiful that I really don't care that much about the cons of this highlighter, because I like the complexity of the shade and how beautiful it looks. My other #1 highlighter is actually the first highlighter I bought, and this is the MAC Double Gleam Extra Dimension Skinfinish. So the shade is Double Gleam. It's extremely old, but this shade is iconic. So this highlighter seems to be the most basic highlighters of all time, but this is the beauty of it. Although the shade is not something extra, it is just like a wet something, a little bit champagne-y, but not very champagne-y, more like very neutral, shiny thing. But what is absolutely amazing about it is that it is actually quite translucent. Can you see it? This is a heavy swatch and it becomes invisible when I turn my arm. It won't work for medium skin tones, so this highlight is more for lighter skin tones. But it gives you the maximum amount of shine without having any glitters. And this is perfection. Absolute perfection. This shade looks on the skin in the way like the skin is wet, and that's why I love this shade so much. So these two shades are my top two. I love the complexity of Chanel, and I love how naturally wet this highlighter looks on the skin, and that I don't need to use anything under it to use it. I actually showed how this highlighter works on the skin in the video where I do the makeup look for my birthday. So I use this highlighter on my birthday because this is my absolute favorite highlighter, and that video was about my most favorite makeup products. So if you have not watched it yet, please go and do so. I will leave the link in the description. I recently got an addition to my extra dimension Skinfinish highlighters collection by MAC. So I have these two shades that are new in my collection. They're maybe like for 2 months, maybe this one is for 1 month. This is the shade called Beaming Blush, and it was actually a gift from my friend for my birthday. And I also used this highlighter in the video about the pumpkin spice latte makeup look, so you can check it out there as well. The names of these two new highlighters are actually quite confusing for me, and you will understand why in a minute, because this is the shade called Beaming Blush. So the base of it is peachy pinkish, but the shine is gold. The other shade is called Show Gold. I got it myself. And the base of it is beige, but the shine is very pink. So this is Show Gold, and this is Beaming Blush. I really do not understand the names here. So here are these two shades. As the Show Gold shade has a beigey base, it is invisible when I turn my arm, but the Beaming Blush shade should be probably applied on top of some blush for a more natural effect. These shades are quite colorful in the way they shine, so they are not natural. I cannot call them natural shades, but the texture of all of these three highlighters is absolutely amazing. It's not powdery because this is a hybrid formula, and I love the texture so much. I will have to start using the right arm because this one is full. Speaking about bright highlighters, I have this palette by McGrath. This is the Sublime Skin Highlighting Trio, which looks like this. we have 3 baked highlighters here, and they are called Iridescent Pink 003, Fine Gold 003, and Bronze Nectar also 003. I want to compare these shades to the MAC highlighters. These are our MAC highlighters and these are the Pat McGrath highlighters. The pink one, they look kind of like a little bit, but the Pat McGrath highlighters, they have a whiter base, as you can see. But if you apply them more thinly, they will look not so white, so it will be fine. It won't be that much visible, but you will still have a little bit of this like cast, a little bit lighter cast. These shades are like neon highlighters for me. This is a more neon pink, this is neon lemony shade. This one is like a regular bronze for deeper skin tones, of course. And this shade is actually present in one of her eyeshadow palettes, the Divine Rose, the first one, so it's the Mothership 7 palette. They are extremely shiny. If you mix the shades together, you will get a more or less natural color, but they are more like party highlighters, I would say. And they, of course, will work absolutely beautiful as eyeshadows. I have 2 more highlighting palettes left, and both palettes are with very vibrant highlighters. And the first one I will speak about is the KVD Beauty Alchemist Holographic palette. We have 4 shades here, and these highlighters, they are colorful. They also have a whitish base, but not as white as the Pat McGrath highlighters here. So if you apply these highlighters in a thin layer, not with like this heavy swipe, they will be almost invisible, and they give you this colorful effect. I would describe the texture of these highlighters very similar to the Charlotte Tilbury highlighters. So they're a little bit powdery. They have a moderate, not extremely high shine. The particles are very delicate, and these shades are actually duochromes. They have a clear base and a sheen. I absolutely love to use these shades as eyeshadows, but also I really enjoy using them on the skin when I'm doing some creative looks. I consider this palette to be a very cool asset. The only drawback of this palette is that as it is white, you will be always losing it on white tables. It becomes invisible, like a true magician. And the last highlighting palette I have is the palette by Kevyn Aucoin, and this is Kaleidochrome All Over Highlight palette. I believe it was a limited edition, so sorry if you cannot buy it and if you like it, but I will still show it to you anyway. So these are the shades in this palette. When I saw it, I immediately understood that this will be a perfect palette for the eyes, because these shades are so beautiful, especially these 2. So these are the 4 shades of this palette. When I saw it, I immediately understood that it won't work as a highlighting palette, of course, because these shades are extremely metallic-y. Maybe this one will work on me, but it's again a little bit way too metallic. But what I liked about it is that these shades are very nice subtle eyeshadows for people with a more muted skin tone. This is the most subtle duochrome blue-brown shade that I have ever seen. And when I was buying this palette, I was keeping in mind that I was working as a makeup artist, and I really wanted to have those, again, not really straightforward shades that will work very nicely and delicately on more fair and muted people. I still love these shades, but for me it's not a highlighting palette, although it is called as such, but I still wanted to show it to you. I think that these 2 shades probably could work for very deep skin tones, and they would look so beautiful. This one as well, but again, it's very glittery. It's more like an eyeshadow palette. So these are just my thoughts about it, because I'm not going to make a separate video about it, because this palette was a limited edition, but I still wanted to show it to you. So these are all of my highlighters. That is quite a collection, I would say. Thank you very much for watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and maybe you just found your perfect highlighter that you just fell in love with, and it will be waiting for you in the store. Okay, thank you for watching till the end, and bye bye.